Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to this week's remembrance session and glorification of my Guru Maharaj. And hopefully you can hear me okay. Can never be too sure on these things. But please, firstly, allow me to explain our basis is Vanchaka, Pachudascha, Namo Vishnu Pada Krishna Krista Pada Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Namo Vishnu Pada Sukha Pada Namo Vishnu Pada Krishna Krista Pada Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charan Nirvishesha Thank you. So yes, welcome to this week's Remembrance and Glorification, Guru Maharaj. I know for many devotees around the world, this is obviously a difficult time, and having just celebrated that. And I know, theoretically, we're supposed to understand appearance and disappearance is the same. Of course, at least for me in practice, appearance is easier to celebrate. Disappearance is a bit more difficult to celebrate. So I know that many, there have been lots of festivals around the world, family of God brothers and sisters, and not least also in New Zealand, where our speaker is based today, Kirti Kumari, and who's been organizing undoubtedly a beautiful festival in New Zealand as well. And she's very, she agreed at very short notice to speak today. So I wanted to also extend my apologies to putting her somewhat on the spot. And maybe, I'm sure she's done a wonderful job of preparing. That I don't have any doubt of, right? But a little bit by way of introduction, Kirti Kumari Devi is a disciple of Guru Maharaj. She's been connected to ISKCON, I'd probably say most of her life, from a very early young age. And on her uncle, is that on your maternal side? Is that right? Or parental side?
It's the brother of my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
His Grace Madan Mohan Prabhu.
Madan Mohan Krishna Das. Yes.
Okay, Madan Mohan Krishna. So that's not the Madan Mohan in the UK. We always think.
No, he's based in Canada.
Oh, okay. He's based in Canada. When I read that, I thought, okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah. So Madan Mohan Krishna is based in Canada, as also a disciple of Guru Maharaj. And Kirti Kumari officially joined ISKCON at the young age of 19. And after that, it transpires she got all her family members to join as well, which is wonderful to see that actually. Kirti Kumari holds a master's degree in law and a master's in teaching and learning. Wow. So she certainly knows stuff, that's for sure. So 13 years ago, Guru Maharaj told her to move to Mayapur and take up the teaching profession, right? And so she's taught in the Mayapur International School for 9 years, completed her Bhakti Shastri in Mayapur, and served the Vaishnav Samadhi area, which I think for those who have been to Mayapur, it's next to Guru Maharaj's Samadhi actually, and has Samadhi mandirs for many of our senior leaders, Srila Maharaj, Bhakti Charu Swami. There's a few of my that I can see. And then she received second initiation in 2018. And 9 years after living in the Holy Dharma, she left and then joined the Freedom Project on the other side of the and so that was very, very interesting too, very interesting. Then she got married to Sridham Prabhu and then moved to New Zealand 3 years. And he has a growing family, 3 young children, and is now serving locally in New Zealand. If I can request devotees to keep their microphone on mute, that would be a great help. Okay, so without further ado, Kirti Kumari also, many of you would have read some of her poems. She's an accomplished writer, and I mean Guru Maharaj would appreciate her poetry. And in some of her offerings of late, she's wrote these poems, and it'd be nice to hear at least some parts of the poems, or at least some sort of really delve into that mood that she's expressing through her poems. So without further ado, I will hand over to Kirti Kumari and let her take us through a river downstream, or river of nectar. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you so much for the beautiful slideshow that you have prepared. It brought back a lot of memories and it just gives that instant connection. So thank you so much for that. And thank you also for inviting me, even though it was on last notice. I still feel extremely blessed, because remembering Guru Maharaj remembering in itself is one of the 9 processes of devotional service, also known as Smaranam. And the more we remember, as we can see actually when we look at Prahlad Maharaj, remembrance is not only to purify ourselves or to connect with our beloved, but it also gives a shelter, or you could say even a guard of protection. Because when we look at his pastimes, we see he was remembering the Lord, connecting with the Lord, but the negative influences from outside, you actually you can't become influenced by them. So whenever we remember the saintly persons or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we get this instant shelter. And that is what Guru Maharaj also often used to say. He would say that when we're in the association of devotees, when we hear Krishna's pastimes, we are under the direct influence of Krishna's internal potency, which can give us protection and shelter. So therefore, this is a very special opportunity for me to remember Guru Maharaj and share some memories I had with Guru Maharaj. And like Prabhu mentioned, some poems. That's one of my leelas with Guru Maharaj. We would exchange poetry. And Guru Maharaj was very, very fond of poetry. He especially loved Bhakti Thakur's poem, which he he used to recite it even in English and sing it. So that's very special. And he always would tell me, because I would try to write a poetry and he would tell me, Kirti Kumari, it has to be in the exact rhyme and meter. And he was very particular. And one time, I don't know if I have time in the end, I wrote a poetry trying to follow that meter, and he was very, very pleased, which was really nice. The poetry is basically about Guru Maharaj achievements and what he stands for. So in the end, I hope to have still some time. So in the beginning, I felt very nervous and a little bit reluctant to talk in front of such a senior audience. But then I was going through my emails and I was trying to get some inspiration. I was going through the emails, the letters that Guru Maharaj and I have exchanged. And I came across one which actually gave me a lot of inspiration and encouragement. So I'll just read a little quote from it. This is quote, Guru Maharaj. I am very happy to know that you are continuing to give classes on various enlivening topics. And I am sure that you are inspiring devotees. Actually, since you have accepted this process of Krishna consciousness, if one does so sincerely, one is able to transmit the message so effectively. Therefore, I ask from you to please continue to share your experiences and abilities with others with enthusiasm, earnestness, and humility. So when I read this, I felt Guru Maharaj is still here. And this actually signifies one of Guru Maharaj's major qualities. He was a very encouraging person. If he saw just, it's like Guru Maharaj is like a mirror. When you look inside the mirror, you see yourself. But Guru Maharaj is like a mirror when you see yourself, but you see the better version of yourself. It's not exactly who you are, but it is the way he sees you or wants you to be. And he had this quality that he could just see what is not yet. He was quite a visionary, and he had that also with every single person that he met. He would only see the good, and he would magnify that good and just bring out whatever is there in the person. So that's one of Guru Maharaj's amazing qualities. And that is also why Guru Maharaj doesn't belong to us disciples. Guru Maharaj belongs to ISKCON, and he is a leader of ISKCON, which has stolen so many hearts. And yeah, it's one of Guru Maharaj's greatest qualities. Recently, we had this beautiful celebration here in Auckland, and all Guru Maharaj's disciples went out of their way, and they've done such an amazing job. But I was impressed to see that there were so many devotees who were speaking who were not Guru Maharaj's disciples. And this really struck me because Guru Maharaj has touched the lives of so many people. And he didn't make a difference really. Initiated, non-initiated, from another Guru Maharaj, it didn't matter to him at all. So he was so exalted. He saw everyone as equal. He gave everyone the equal amount of time, which was really, really nice. He made us feel, you know, when he was talking, when Guru Maharaj is standing in front of you, I know, I'm sure, especially the Prabhus will have felt that Guru Maharaj is always very close. And it just is as if the whole world would stand still, and it would be you and Guru Maharaj, and he would make you feel as if you're the most valuable person in the world at that moment that he's talking to you. And that was so special. So it also reminds me of Krishna in some way, because Krishna also has this potency that he would make every single devotee feel extremely special. And Guru Maharaj definitely has that as well. So like I said, recently there was a festival, a disappearance festival, and as Prabhu mentioned, it has a different mood. It's hard. And there was one lady that spoke, and she was not Guru Maharaj's disciple. And she mentioned something which made me realize how fortunate we disciples are to have a guru like His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami. So basically, she was explaining her journey, and she was saying that through quite a long period of time, quite an amount of years, she had tried to make a connection with Guru Maharaj. Like, she knew that she was attracted to him, but somehow she missed the opportunity. Each and every time she missed the opportunity to actually make contact. So she was attracted, she was listening to the bhajans, she was, listening to the katha, she was very much connected to Guru Maharaj, but she couldn't get that opportunity. And when she was sharing, she shared that, we are such fortunate people to have a guru of such a caliber. And it is so true. And it also brought back many memories of how I met Guru Maharaj. It's quite similar, actually. It took me a long time to actually meet Guru Maharaj. There was a whole prelude, and I thought I would just share a little bit about that, and then some memories in Mayapur, and then ultimately leading to my last offering on Guru Maharaj's disappearance day. So I grew up in a household where there were like regular yagyas and there were fasting days, like typical Hindu celebrations. And you could say it was more in the mood of tradition, not necessarily the knowledge behind it, but it was more a ritualistic practice. And although it was done with sincerity, my parents were very sincere. And from a small age, when I would look at these different celebrations, there was something which I didn't like, because usually my parents would invite a priest, just a regular priest, and he would do his thing, but I couldn't rhyme the two. Like the priest was doing the yagya, 5 minutes later he was outside smoking cigarette, then he was continuing the yagya, then suddenly he would look on his watch and say, I'm going to miss the train, let's skip the last 5 parts of the yagya. And somehow this left an impression on me and actually colored my consciousness or tainted me, and I became quite averse against against any guru type, you could say. I definitely had respect for sadhus, but I couldn't really trust them, and I felt like that. So I was very fortunate though, because like I said, my uncle took me to the temple when I was very, very young, and my parents used to work full time. At that time, my uncle was not married, which he is now, with 3 beautiful children and Guru Maharaj disciples. And anyway, I was very lucky because I used to spend so much time with him. He would take me to these ISKCON temples and he would talk to me about Krishna, and he just cultivated that seed, the seed of bhakti in my heart. And I still vividly remember the first time I went to the ISKCON temple. I received a flower from Srila Prabhupada, and I can still smell that flower. That's how much impact it had on me. And what was also very special is my legal name is Kiran or Kiran, but they couldn't say it and they used to call me Kirti. And later Guru Maharaj gave me this name, Kirti Kumari, which is quite extraordinary. So through my uncle, my days and years passed in ISKCON. And at one point, naturally, I was pushed towards thinking about a spiritual master, because that was the common practice, that those are Krishna's teachings, everyone had a guru. So my temple authorities started to say, it's time for you to think about a spiritual master. I tried to avoid the topic completely and continue with Krishna consciousness as far as I could, until I received a class, which was just an audio file. My uncle had sent it to me, and it was actually Guru Maharaj's class, and he spoke on Sharanagati. He spoke on Sharanagati in relationship to the beautiful song Bhakti Thakur sings, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jiva Doya Kore. That was a beautiful bhajan. And so basically what he did is he took the concept of Sharanagati, and I still remember him saying, what is the last instruction in the Gita? That's how he started the class. What's the last instruction in the Gita? And he said, it is surrender unto me. Mamekam Sharanam Braja. So then he explained, what does this mean? Sharanagati means surrender. But then he explained that Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave 6 limbs to Sharanagati, and he explained that very scientifically, very systematically, and he went through all of them. He also sang the song, which really touched my heart, but there are a few statements in his class which actually instantly brought about a change in my heart. He explained that surrender, it's not something verbal, it's not a word, and it's an action, it's a consciousness. And he also said that nowadays the word surrender has a very negative connotation, which is true. It kind of makes you feel as if you're forced to do something. And he actually counteracted that whole negative connotation. He explained that surrender is the natural condition of the soul. It's actually a state of consciousness. And it evolves. And I can see that, like, for example, when the baby is young and, you know, you want to feed the baby and the baby is eating, but when he doesn't like it, he kind of spits it out. And then he gets bigger and he gets scared for their parents. And his parents, they look at them, you know, like, you should eat this. And they eat it out of fear. They surrender, but it's out of fear. Now, when they grow up a little older, like my teenagers, they eat their food or their prasadam, but they eat it because they have the knowledge that they need it. They know that, okay, this will sustain me, this will make me fit, so I have to eat it. And then the next level of surrender is when you're already full, but someone who loves you prepares something for you and you eat it anyway. Because although you're full, you eat it anyway because you love them. And this is a realization I got, you know, while thinking about, like, I grew up in a family with a lot of children. I've always been surrounded by children. So this is something how I can relate to this. What Guru Maharaj also said is that being connected to a bona fide spiritual master, it is actually an expression of Krishna's mercy. So it's not that, it's an expression of Krishna's mercy. That's what Guru Maharaj said. So it means you have to attract that type of mercy. And he also said that that only happens, you will only attract a bona fide spiritual master if you have a desire in your heart. And I remember that I totally lacked that desire. I had the exact opposite. I did not want to meet any spiritual master. So I lacked that desire. But Guru Maharaj explained this so perfectly, that Krishna is situated in the heart. Whatever you desire, he sees. In the scriptures, it is said that whenever you accept a spiritual master, this is favorable for your Krishna consciousness. This is needed for your Krishna consciousness. And when he said that, I could understand that this was about myself, and the fact that I had perhaps attracted all these negative experiences. I realized from Guru Maharaj class that it perhaps was because my desire was not sincere. So this is one of the first lessons I received from Guru Maharaj about sincerity and being introspective. And I will never forget it. So he continued saying that the process of surrender starts with daimya. And he said the opposite of surrender is pride. If you want to surrender, you have to consider yourself lower, and you have to be ready for instruction and correction. And he also explains that for that, you need a guru. And in this 30 minutes class that he gave, I actually got to learn more about myself than I had done in like all the years of my young life. I had never seen Guru Maharaj. It was merely an audio class without any footage. I never even heard of Guru Maharaj. My uncle didn't really speak of him. He spoke of Prabhupada and, you know, Krishna consciousness, but never really about his Guru Maharaj. But in this class, Guru Maharaj changed my heart. And many years later,
you still have that class? Do you still have that file? Do you still have that?
I still have that file. I don't know, probably it must be in my mother's house, because I shifted quite a lot. Couldn't really take so many things with me, but it might be still with my mother. So many years later, when I was in D-Land, Guru Maharaj told me that the ear is so important. He said the ear is the only sense which can transport you towards the transcendental reality. And I was thinking, so I got attracted to Guru Maharaj through my ears. And I think most of us did. Most of us who did not, you know, see Maharaj or just listening to his bhajans or listening to his class, something just happens inside the heart. So I learned from Guru Maharaj, and I'm still learning, that we must accept what is favorable for Krishna consciousness. And Guru Maharaj would say, if you don't, I remember this, if you don't accept what is favorable to Krishna consciousness, it's like going against the flow of the river of bhakti. So he said, bhakti has a flow, it's like a river. And the moment you do something which is not favorable, it's like trying to, go against the flow of the river of bhakti, which I also remember very vividly. So from that moment onwards, I was on a quest to meet Guru Maharaj. And the journey was not so easy. And that's why I could relate to this Mataji. It had been years since Guru Maharaj actually visited the Netherlands. And that's actually where I was born, in the Netherlands. And it was unlikely that he would do so in the near future. I remember going to my local authorities at that time and them loving me very much, appreciating me very much. And because I was so young, they actually felt, how could I say that? They felt that there was another Guru Maharaj for me. So I told them I am attracted to Bhakti Charu Maharaj, but somehow by Krishna's divine arrangement, they said, well, based on what we've seen of you and, the connections that we have, we would like to suggest to you to try to aspire for His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. So I was a little confused, but being new, I respected them and decided that I should try to move towards that direction. So I listened to many classes and I loved Maharaj, and Radhanath Maharaj touches everyone's heart. So I didn't have any problems, but somehow I couldn't forget that audio file. I couldn't forget Guru Maharaj. He had already made a seat in my heart. So about a year later, I heard that Guru Maharaj would come to Radhadesh, which is about 5 hours away from the Netherlands. And I was so happy. And I thought, authorities or no authorities, no one can stop me from just going to the seminar. So I made that endeavor. I went there. And my first 2 encounters with Guru Maharaj, they were bittersweet, but way more bitter than sweet. So Guru Maharaj was giving a seminar, and at the end of the seminar, he was elaborating on how we should not take the worship of Shri Radha and Krishna very lightly. He was actually talking about the Mahabharata, but somehow he got sidetracked, like sometimes that happens, and he talked about deity worship, and he talked about that in Srila Prabhupada's time, generally only the temple deities were worshipped, and it had become a trend for people to invite deities into their houses. So he was talking about, and he was actually warning us and saying, we have to be very careful because, so many things can happen. It's like taking children. He would often compare them to children that you have to take care of, that are depending on you. So he was talking about the possible offenses. And I got so scared because what had happened is a few months before, one of the congregation members had given me a very sweet, small Radha and Krishna deity set. And I was a little bit innocent. So I started worshiping them, dressing them. And I had a very strict sadhana program. And I was very dedicated, but I was also feeling guilty because I thought, here is my Guru Maharaj. He is saying no, and I'm doing something which is against his desire. So I thought, what do I do now? And then I remembered, the going against the flow of the river of bhakti. And I decided that, okay, I must just go to Guru Maharaj and tell honestly that this is my situation. But if I do that, I must inside also accept that Guru Maharaj will say that, okay, you can't worship these deities and, you might have to give them away. So it was a very difficult internal battle for me, but still I decided to tell Guru Maharaj, which I did straight after the class. So I went to Guru Maharaj and it was in front of so many people. And I told him, look, Guru Maharaj, this is my situation. I've been given the deities. And he just stopped. He looked at me, and I'm sure, I don't know if I'm sure you've seen Guru Maharaj angry, but it's like thunder. It's so scary. He was so angry. His like eyes were like completely watery and with a reddish hue, and he just said, "Who gave you the deities?" And I was like, here's this gentle Vaishnava sitting talking about Mahabharata, suddenly turns into a lion, and he was just roaring. And I didn't want to say the name of the person, which I didn't, so I said a congregation member, because that person was there as well. So I thought it wouldn't be a good idea. So I just said a congregation member. And Guru Maharaj looked at me deep into my eyes, and he said, "Would you give your own child to someone who is so unqualified?" I was like, I was broken. I said, "No, I would not." And I said, "Please let me know how you wish me to pursue, if I am ready to give them up." And Guru Maharaj became calm. Then this is also a typical quality of Guru Maharaj. He's angry, and 1 second after, all anger is subsided. And that's exactly what happened. He looked at me, a smile came on his face, and he said, "Actually, I have seen you with these deities because I used to carry my deities with me. At that time, it was the only association that I had, to be honest, because my parents were not devotees at that time. My uncle lived all the way in Canada. I was given the deity, so I kind of made that my whole center of Krishna consciousness. So I used to carry them with me." And he said, "I've seen you with these deities. You carry them around, and I've seen that you love them. And I've also seen that they love you. So from now on, you can worship them with my permission." And I was like, I didn't know what to feel. I was shaken, and my ego was completely smashed, because this was done, in front of so many devotees. And I didn't know what to think. So there were a few devotees there that were also from my congregation at that time. And they said, Kiran at that time, the relationship between the guru and the disciple is meant to be very sweet. It doesn't really look like your relationship with Maharaj is so sweet. So I said, yeah. They said, "You might need to, go back to our suggestion and, think about Radhanath Maharaj." So I kept it in my mind, but, I just thought, let me just see. This was only my first interaction. And I felt actually inside that I had already learned something from Guru Maharaj, and he kept teaching me. It was not a teacher who, it was maybe in a harsh way, but still he made an impact, made a real impact on me. And I felt that is what is needed. Someone who can just shake me and see through me, and see all the ego and just smash it, which he did so wonderfully and is still doing today. And so my second encounter was also something similar. I was such a naive, kind of unthoughtful person. And I had my first meeting with him, like one-on-one. There was one other Mataji sitting next to me. She had given a gift to Guru Maharaj. It was a very nice photo frame of Shri Radha Gopinath from Radhadesh. And Guru Maharaj went, he's a gentleman. So he was like, "Mataji, this means a lot, and thank you so much. You shouldn't have done that. It's a beautiful frame." And he was very happy and then the Mataji left. So I had a small picture in my wallet, which I had for a very long time. It was also a little photo of Radha and Krishna. And Guru Maharaj, I told Guru Maharaj, this picture is very, very dear to me, and I would like to give it to you. And this was not because of the lady that said it before, but I wanted to give this to him. And then he looked at me and he said, "Why are you giving this to me?" And I was like, and he said, "I'm a sannyasi." you cannot give this to me. Are you giving me the responsibility? So I have to take this picture and take care of it, but I'm a sannyasi and I have to travel. And then he looked at me and he said, you should think before you do something. Second encounter, that was it. And I left the room. I felt, again, you know, of course, these are not things that when you have a lot of ego, like I have, then these things hurt. You can't really place them and you feel embarrassed. But still, I couldn't get rid of this feeling that this is the one. This is my guru. But I got very confused. So 2 days after, I was still in Radhadesh and I decided to approach Srila Prabhupada. I had never ever approached Srila Prabhupada because of my bias and conditioning against, you know, spiritual masters initially. But this time I knew I had to go. So I went to Srila Prabhupada's Murti in the DT room. No one was there. And I prayed, like, really from my heart, and tears were just streaming. And I said, look, I haven't acknowledged you. I've tried to be Krishna conscious without your mercy, but I'm using your facilities and I'm using your institution, and I want to be initiated by one of your disciples. And I know I have made a mistake and I'm very confused. I know I need a guru. I can't do this on my own, and I just don't know who it is. I have this feeling in my heart that this is Bhakti Charu Maharaj, but you know, then my seniors are saying something else. I was so bewildered. So I prayed and prayed and prayed. And that night I got a dream, and it's literally the only dream I've ever had about Srila Prabhupada. I've never had any other dream about him. And so in that dream, there was, I was standing in a doorway. Srila Prabhupada was cooking. He was wearing wooden sandals, and he was not looking at me at all. He was just very concentrated on, you know, stirring whatever was in the pot. And I remember thinking that, oh, I need to take the dust from his lotus feet, because that's kind of a sentence we hear all the time. So I felt that I have to take the dust from his lotus feet. I must do this. I must do this. But how am I going to do that? Because, you know, I can't just touch his feet. It wouldn't be appropriate. So when I was thinking that and looking at Srila Prabhupada, his left foot kind of was raised, and it looked like he was itching his leg, like he was itching his leg. So one of the shoes became free, one of the sandals. So I said, okay, this is my moment. So I went down and I took the dust, and I could still feel it. It was kind of like liquids, very different kind of sensation, and I put it on my head. Immediately after that, Prabhupada placed his feet back on the sandal, and then he just pointed like that. He didn't look at me, nothing. There was just a slight grin on his face from the side, and he just pointed like that, which there was another door there. So I thought, okay, I have to go there. So I opened the door, and there was Guru Maharaj. And he was sitting on this asana. It was quite a high asana. And he looked at me and he said, I've been waiting for you. So I sat down, and he started to speak about Rath Yatra. And he spoke about how glorious Rath Yatra is, how the Lord goes out on his own accord, how all those people who never even have one interaction with the Lord now get the chance to get this mercy. And he was talking about how special the deity of Jagannath is. And yeah, I can't remember what happened after. I just remember that. And I remember waking up and just knowing that, you know, I felt that this was a confirmation. And I just felt that whatever anyone is going to tell me, I will never ever accept another guru, even if he has to chastise me, even if that is all what our relationship is about, because I can't. And I know that Prabhupada has sent this special soul, and he will be the only one in the world who can help me. Yeah. Anyway, so
That's a wonderful, wonderful dream, Sherry. It's a wonderful dream.
Yeah, Prabhupada.
take this opportunity to welcome His Holiness Bhakti Prem Maharaj. So our obeisances, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Bhakti Prema Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. I feel so honored and blessed to have you here. Thank you so much. I'm really missing your association a lot.
Maharaj, would you like to say something? Is he? I did see him.
Maharaj was here, just he left.
Oh, he just left.
That's okay. Thank you.
Christmas Maharaj. Okay. Okay. And if devotees have any questions, please, feel free to ask any questions at this juncture. We can. I was taking some notes down, and you kind of mentioned, you started off saying that, in your younger years, you had quite a bad experience of sort of sadhus, Indian sadhus. And then in a way, you perhaps kind of resolved that you wouldn't take necessarily to spiritual life or surrender to such gurus. But then, of course, through your experience with Guru Maharaj and coming in contact with ISKCON, that completely changed your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Was there one thing that sort of brought about that complete turnaround?
Well, it definitely was those statements in the class that Guru Maharaj made. It even made such an impact that even my mother, who was at that time so averse to me taking up Krishna consciousness, and it's so strange because now she has been a temple president, she's a full-time pujari, wow. She's a second initiated devotee, but she she was so against it because she felt, here I have this young girl, she needs to get married, typical Indian parents. She needs to get married, she's studying law, what is she doing? She can do this, but only when she is like 50 plus. That was her kind of, yeah. She thought I would leave everything, and she was scared, so she was very aggressive about it at that time. And very vocal about it. But even her, I made her listen to that class, and even her, actually what happened to her is the next day she came home with a beautiful plate for Krishna's offering, like a beautiful plate for Krishna's offering with, it was really well, she really thought about it, and she just gave it to me and she said, yeah, I thought you might need it, very detached, as if, but something had happened to her just because of that class and listening to Guru Maharaj. So definitely that was a moment for me where I could understand that I was actually not being Krishna conscious. I was actually doing the exact opposite and listening to my own conditioning rather than whatever Krishna advised, for all of us. And I felt that this is not going to help me progress. And that is something that Guru Maharaj made me feel. He also made me feel that otherwise I would just be very, very proud, because a teacher he explained that you have to be able to be corrected. Correction, when you're able to be corrected, it means that you acknowledge that there's something wrong and you have to kind of work on something. And how can you do that without a guru? I had that kind of understanding that I have no one. My parents are not devotees. The congregation that I had, it's basically, I was the youngest, and then there were, of course, little children, but you can't really associate with them on this level. Most of all the other congregation members were quite older to me, so there's this kind of generation gap going on there. So I had no one. I had only the deities. So I knew Guru Maharaj made me understand that in just 30 minutes. So the class was not very long, and he made me understand that. So that was definitely a moment for me. Yes, listening to his class.
Okay, continue. Sorry.
Yes, sorry.
Any other devotees have any questions? I would, encourage you to take advantage Kirti Kumari's association here. Right. If you've got any questions. Okay, maybe towards the end. Right.
So sometime later, I heard Guru Maharaj was going to go to Zurich. So I left to Switzerland, and I was very scared to approach him. So I had written him a letter, especially about, you know, the dream that I had and how my journey has been and how I felt that he was my guru. So I met Guru Maharaj in Zurich, and his secretary, I told his secretary, you know, about my desire that I would like to take initiation from Guru Maharaj. So then Guru Maharaj came to me and he looked at me. This is also very strange. And he looked at me and he was not that scary lion, you know, that I had associated with before. He was very different. He looked at me and he says, actually, I thought I had already initiated you. So I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, he must think I'm someone else. And he said, no, I know who you are. I've seen you a couple of times. I thought you were already my disciple. So I was shocked and I said, no, I'm not. And he said, oh, okay. Well, you have 3 days to come to Bhaktivedanta Manor in London and I will give you initiation there. And I was like, whoa, what's happening to me? I was so in bliss. But he told me, but you need a recommendation letter from your local temple. And I couldn't sleep that night because I knew that was not going to happen. And I was very, very sad. I didn't know what to do. And I was also serving at Zurich Temple at that time. Like I was there for Guru Maharaj, and then I stayed on much longer for a couple of months because I wanted to know more about temple life. So my service was, of course, cleaning pots. And at that time I was not second initiated. So I was cleaning the pots and I was just sweeping. So that night I was sweeping the floor, but Janananda Maharaj was staying over at the temple. So I don't know if you've ever been in Zurich, but the sannyasi room is very close to a common place where I was sweeping the floor. But I was very sad. I was actually grieving because I thought, here I have finally my Guru Maharaj who is ready to initiate me, but I can't get that recommendation letter. So I was just crying. And while I was sweeping, by accident, the broom hit the door of Maharaj, Janananda Maharaj. And he opened the door and I was shocked and I was so embarrassed. And he said, yes, Mataji, how can I help you? And I said, oh no, it was an accident. I'm so sorry. And the broomstick. And then he looked at me, but I was crying. So he said, what's going on? Are you all right? And he said, okay, why don't you come in? So he sat me down and I told him the whole story. And he looked at me and he said, no, this is not possible, because he's by the way, also my sister's Guru Maharaj now. So there was a relationship there as well, which I never knew at that time. And he said, no, you and Bhakti Charu Swami make a very good match. So don't worry, I'm going to talk to the local temple president here, and he's going to get you that recommendation letter. I guarantee you. And even if you don't, I will call Bhakti Charu Maharaj. So I felt so relieved and so blessed. And that's exactly also what happened. So I arrived in London and I apologized to Guru Maharaj. I said, I'm so sorry, I wasn't able to locally get the recommendation letter. And then Guru Maharaj said, these are only formalities, but the truth is that real initiation takes place within the heart. And he said, I have accepted you and you have accepted me, and that is enough. Yeah, so I told that Mataji, coming back to the Mataji who gave, a wonderful speech on Guru Maharaj's disappearance day. I went to her and I told her, this is what Guru Maharaj said. So Guru Maharaj was your guru because you have accepted him in your heart. And these are literally Guru Maharaj's words, that these are just formalities. Real initiation takes place within the heart. And she was very happy to hear that. So that was beautiful. So in that sense, anyone who comes in contact with Guru Maharaj is in a way initiated by him or linked with him. Because if we sincerely follow him, then we receive his mercy.
Yeah, no, you're right, absolutely. Initiation is a matter, Guru Maharaj would often say that. Initiation actually is a matter of what.
I remember, I remember one day I was sitting in Guru Maharaj's headquarters, you know, in Mayapur. He had beautiful headquarters. I actually just now saw photos of it, and I haven't seen it for some time. And now it even has like different labels of living room, bathroom, which of course before it wasn't there. So one day after Guru Maharaj, he gave a brief class on Narada Muni's search for the greatest devotee, which is one of his favorites. Brihad Bhagavatamrita is one of his favorite discourses. So he gave a very brief class where he just, you know, explained briefly, you know, Narada Muni, who he meets, etc. So in this class, I became so touched and so overwhelmed by Guru Maharaj's devotion that I myself was overwhelmed with feelings of gratitude. And whenever we are inspired, at least I have that, and I have a lot of thoughts going in my mind, I need to write it down. So I had no paper. The class was over and I stayed back. Guru Maharaj already left for his room and I was just staying back. And then I saw the tissue paper box. Guru Maharaj always has tissue paper when he gives class. So I saw it and I was like, okay, this is my chance. So I took out a couple of tissues. I just poured out my heart. I kind of wrote a poem, which I'm going to read to you right now, because I wrote it on the tissues and I left the tissues there. And the next morning I received a phone call from Guru Maharaj. And he said, did you write that offering yesterday? So I said, yes, I did. And he said that it's one of the most beautiful offerings he has ever read. And he also said to me that the secret of success is to have attachment to the spiritual master. And he says, when you have attachment to the spiritual master, you become empowered, and all your what did he say? Yeah, you become empowered. So when you have attachment to the spiritual master, you become empowered. And it's that attachment which will carry you throughout your whole spiritual life and carry you all the way back home. So it was very encouraging to hear that from Guru Maharaj. He also said that he had similar feelings towards Srila Prabhupada. And he also mentioned that he was unqualified to receive such glorification. Yeah, actually, that was the first thing he said. The first thing he said, he was unqualified to receive that glorification. So here is what I wrote. I thought of sharing with you because I'm sure all of you will feel the same. Okay. Dearest Guru Maharaj, when Narada Muni had observed the Brahmana who had selflessly given his kindness and charity while feeding all the Brahmanas assembled, he boldly exclaimed, "This Brahmana is the recipient of the Lord's mercy. Hence, he must be the most fortunate of all." But Guru Maharaj, I beg to differ. On many occasions, I have received prasadam which came straight from your lotus hands. I have received the kindness of your merciful glance and the charity of your causeless blessings. I can't help but to wonder who is more fortunate, that Brahmana or me. There used to live a king in South India who worshipped the Lord with great pomp and engaged all the residents in his service. But just see how I am the servant of a person at whose feet all the kings sit. A person who has engaged all the continents in the service of the Supreme. Then I wonder, who's more fortunate, he or me? Maharaj Indra is the Lord of the demigods, and the Supreme Lord had personally appeared as his younger brother Vamanadev to protect his kingdom. But see, the Lord himself has causelessly manifested himself before me in the form of Sri Guru. Then I wonder, who is more fortunate, he or me? Lord Brahma is born from the navel of Lord Vishnu, but I was born from your compassionate heart. And then I wonder, who is more fortunate, he or me? Shiva is wrapped in meditation on the Lord, but I'm the daughter of a father who awakens this meditation in everyone's heart. Then I think, who is more fortunate, he or me? Prahlad remembered the Lord constantly and was protected from death. But I simply, by remembering my spiritual master, am freed from the entire cycle of birth and death. Then I wonder, who is more fortunate, he or me? Hanuman served the Lord directly, but the Lord declares, he who serves my devotees is most dear to me. And then I ask, am I not the disciple of the one who serves the most confidential servant of the Lord, his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada? Then I wonder, who is more fortunate, he or me? Krishna himself bowed down before the Pandavas, but I am the recipient of the mercy of a person who has Lord Krishna under his full control. Then I wonder, who is more fortunate, they or me? Of the Yadus, Uddhava never leaves Krishna out of sight. Yet Krishna's heart is somewhere else. It got lost in Vrindavan, resting on the gopis' chest, where it eternally resides. But what do the gopis claim? They say, he who dedicates his life and soul to spreading Krishna's glories is the best of all. And it is such a person that has come into my life without any cause. Such a person has claimed me as his own. That person has allowed me to somehow render some service unto his lotus feet. So now please, Guru Maharaj, consider how I feel the most fortunate of all. So this is actually the beginning. It's the first offering I wrote to Guru Maharaj, which just instantly happened in the room, and really loved it. And from then on, I used to write these almost every 2 months and send it to him, and he would never fail, to respond. He was very, very kind. He was so encouraging, and he always made everything in relation to Srila Prabhupada. So whatever he said, whatever he commented on was always in relation to how he felt about Srila Prabhupada, or how those feelings have to be projected towards Srila Prabhupada. So it says a lot about Guru Maharaj. So there are a few encounters in my work that I thought might be nice to share.
Before you go, I just want to say, express, I'm sure everybody, such a beautiful poem, actually, basically using Narad Muni's travel, Brihad Bhagavatam, as an analogy, and really expressing how fortunate we as disciples, yourself, those qualities, and how immensely fortunate we are. There is one question. I don't have a name, unfortunately, in the chat. So I'll kind of read it out, if I may. So dear Kirti Kumari, it says, the person says, now Guru Maharaj has left this planet. How do you cope with that emptiness in day-to-day life? He says, you don't seem to be sad, but very strong and happy. Do you have any tips for devotees in this regard? And I guess, I read that and I thought, well, just your absorption in the kind of poetry and that meditation is enough to sort of connect one with Guru Maharaj on a day-to-day basis. But please, you answer. I don't want to answer for you.
It's a very relevant question. It's a very good question. And what you're seeing of me right now is someone who is remembering Guru Maharaj. So that person naturally becomes joyful. Because when we remember Guru Maharaj, we are with Guru Maharaj. So we don't feel that separation. Like right now, I don't feel it. But when I stop talking, I do feel it. So I do really understand what you are going through. And the fact that you're actually asking this question means that, you love him very much. And that's actually enough. What Guru Maharaj told me, and what I try to remember, is he said, if you love someone, you glorify that person. And for me, this has been very, very helpful. So I have children. So when we glorify someone, yeah, we're remembering that person, we're glorifying them, we're cleaning ourselves by emphasizing or magnifying the great qualities of someone else. And through that, we actually receive their blessings. And so one way is, I think, to try to speak more about Guru Maharaj, and remembering him. Like I got lucky to have, a mixture of Vapu and Vanu, and not everyone had that. And even Srila Prabhupada didn't have that much Vapu. And therefore it's not important, but I think therefore it's a little easier for me, because I can kind of, think about all these memories, and that helps, but it's not everything. I've noticed that what now keeps me going is the desire to glorify Guru Maharaj, because he said that is how you can connect me with you, and also to listen to his classes. Just absorb yourself in Guru Maharaj classes, because he said when you hear from someone, you become attached to that person. And it really is true. It just creates so much attachment. Like even like Rukmini Devi, there's so many examples. They only got to hear about the glories of someone, and from that, this intense, attachment starts to get awakened. And so lots of hearing of Guru Maharaj. And Guru Maharaj also told me, which I will talk about a little later, but he also said, whenever you said, I was going through something in Mayapur with a shift of management and my school, etc. And he told me, whenever you're sad, open Prabhupada's books. Very simple. He said, just open Prabhupada's books, any page, start reading, and it will go away. He said, Prabhupada gives all the answers. He gives you all the encouragement. Whatever you need to hear, you will hear at that time. So those are 3 things I try to do to stay connected with Guru Maharaj. And of course, what is also very, very helpful is to associate with your God family and to attend classes like this, and to speak and share and hear about Guru Maharaj. And that will make you feel very, very close to him. Yeah, I think those are the things that keep me going, but it's not been easy. Even when Guru Maharaj just left, I stopped chanting my rounds, and I know he would never forgive me for that, never. And I still lament so much. I just couldn't do anything. And it was only until Bhakti Prema Maharaj, I think I approached him and I told him that, look, this is happening. And he got, he was very disappointed. And he said, this is not what Guru Maharaj would want. And yeah, this is not the way to look at things. And Guru Maharaj is still here. That is, he is such a devotee. He has such transcendental vision. He can still be with Guru Maharaj, associate with Guru Maharaj. I couldn't. I was overwhelmed with grief. I couldn't do anything. And so that really helped me. And luckily, it was not a long period, maybe a week or so. And then I went back to normal chanting. But still, I know what it's like. And the more and more I've been contemplating about Guru Maharaj and his departure, I've actually tried to look at it from a different perspective, which I will come to at the end of this class. And that has helped me tremendously. It has helped me tremendously to actually glorify, even his departure. Because it's a very sudden thing, it's a very sad thing. But then again, it is Krishna's arrangement. And I'm convinced that Guru Maharaj is in a perfect place with Srila Prabhupada. And he's still here with us. When I look at Guru Maharaj's offering, I think Guru Maharaj wrote a disappearance offering on Prabhupada's disappearance day. I think it's from 2021, maybe even his last one. He really gets very fired up. And he says, Prabhupada is here. Prabhupada didn't go anywhere. You have to find Prabhupada, you have to connect with Prabhupada. And there's also a class where Guru Maharaj talks about himself in general, but in that particular offering, Guru Maharaj is very strong. And he says the biggest mistake in ISKCON is that people are thinking that Prabhupada is not here, but he is here. So I keep telling myself the words that Guru Maharaj used himself to try to infuse me with that mood. And for me, that helps. Yeah, I hope that answered the question. I hope that gave a little bit of help.
I don't have a name for the devotee, but hopefully whoever you are who left that question in the chat, that answers your question. And I also have Prema Pallavi Devi, who has her hand up. So please, yeah, if you can ask your question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much. Please accept my humble obeisances. All yours to Srila Prabhupada, all yours to Gurudev. Thank you so much for sharing those. Some of those I can relate to the interactions that you had with Gurudev. So when this devotee asked this question, that came to my mind, and I wanted to understand if my thought process was right, is, in that emptiness and missing Gurudev, I feel like, that intense separation, that emptiness can be an impetus for us to become more and more serious in our sadhana. Is that a right mood to have while you share the practical application of it?
Mataji, that is a very mature mood. I would say you are very blessed. I would say you're definitely, worshipable for just seeing it like that, because that's what Guru Maharaj would have wanted. He would have wanted everything for him has to be an impetus to serve Krishna. And if you can use the situation, see the situations in the way that Guru Maharaj told me, Krishna consciousness is a matter of perspective. So when you take the things and see the things in a Krishna conscious perspective and make them in such a way that they enliven you in your practice and make you more serious, that means you are very blessed, Mataji. I think, we can all learn a lot from you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. I'm still not there, but this is what has been going through more and more. Every time I feel that emptiness, and I feel that not able to, it's everything is so emotional, but I feel like, yeah, it is emotional, but I need to use this emotion in the right way, but I wasn't sure. Is it just like, I don't want to continue on that level. So what the points that you shared helped me to move to a practical level, because they both have to go hand in hand. So thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Okay. Any other questions that devotees have? I very much encourage you to take this opportunity to ask questions.
So,
okay. Hand over to you, Kirti Kumari.
I think it might be appropriate. I have one letter here of Guru Maharaj, which is actually about us feeling low. So I'm just going to read it. I think it will be relevant for all of us. That's why I thought I could read it. So it says, my dear Kirti Kumari, please accept my blessings. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Although you didn't want me to reply to your previous mail, I still need to talk to you about this. Material nature is full of threefold miseries. One of them is adhyatmic, which is pertaining to the gross body and the mind. They come, and it is natural that you will get affected by them. But we should try to overcome them by our Krishna consciousness. Whenever you feel hurt, make it a point to start reading Prabhupada's books. You will see how consoling that can be. Maybe you are doing that now, and that is why you wrote this second letter, because you saw that this was just a phenomenon of the material nature. Krishna's lotus feet is the source of endless joy, and we got that shelter. Therefore, you don't have to worry about anything else. All we have to do is increase that attachment more and more. You are naturally a joyful person, And that's why you can also be very sensitive and prone to get hurt. Whenever you experience challenging situation, just remember, Krishna loves you. Srila Prabhupada loves you. Therefore, what others feel about you, it doesn't matter. I hope this makes you well. Yours in the service of Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Charu Swami. So I think for Mataji, this would also, help. That's why I thought of sharing it. And I really think that Mataji is a great devotee, that she can, take this as an impetus to, strengthen her service. That's exactly what His Holiness Bhakti Prema Maharaj also is doing and also told me to do.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
We have one question from hand up from Caroline, a devotee called Caroline. So please, Caroline, I invite you to ask your question.
Panchakalpatarubhasya kripasindhibhyo vichapatitanam bhavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Ragamanjari Devi Dasi. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing all your heartfelt feelings towards Guru Maharaj, your experiences and your beautiful poetry. I certainly can relate to the thunderbolt anger and then as soft as a rose. Many times in Mayapur, Guru Maharaj would reprimand me to call me back and say sorry. And but what I wanted to just share is in our recent celebration in Sydney here, or memorial, during my homage, I kind of held it together until the very end when I just burst into tears and kind of uncontrollable crying, which I didn't expect actually. Even though, Guru Maharaj would always say we should make our heart as soft as butter so Krishna steals it away. But in hindsight, I realized it was selfish tears of not having Guru Maharaj's Vapu anymore, because as you shared so eloquently, we know that Guru Maharaj is ecstatically blissful wherever he is, being such an elevated devotee. And thank you so much for sharing those ways to keep connected with Guru Maharaj, particularly that just opening Srila Prabhupada's books, which I do every day. Guru Maharaj's last gift to me was a signed Bhagavad Gita, and every day I open it up at a random page as if Guru Maharaj is speaking directly to me. So thank you so much for sharing those insights. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for sharing that. And it's so wonderful to hear from you and how you take shelter of Guru Maharaj's instructions and how you hold, the books that he has given you so dear. And it's amazing that was a gift that Guru Maharaj gave, because that just makes that connection even more solid. And you are not only reminded of the acharyas and Krishna's pastimes, but you're also reminded of Guru Maharaj. It's a very personal gift. So I'm very happy that you received that and that you treasure that. And I'm also very happy to hear about, being introspective. Guru Maharaj spoke about that a lot, especially to me as well. And I can hear how you have been doing that, being introspective and thinking about what is it actually that I'm crying about. And I think that's a very sincere and honest way to look at things. And Guru Maharaj said that from this introspectiveness comes spiritual strength, which is given by Balaram. So he very much encouraged that. And that's why whenever I had some realization, I used to share that with Guru Maharaj. I know he was very busy. A lot of devotees always say, Guru Maharaj is busy. Guru Maharaj, you can't write Guru Maharaj. And to some extent, yes, that is true. But Guru Maharaj always was interested in how we are progressing in Krishna consciousness. He was always too happy to hear from a devotee or from anyone how they were doing, and it would enliven him. So I'm sure Guru Maharaj, will be very enlivened to hear you and your realizations. And I thank you so much for putting your trust in me and sharing that with me. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Not sure we have any other questions. All right. I'm also conscious of time, and it's in New Zealand. It's coming on to midnight.
Yes. Prabhu, would you like me to just talk about the last offering?
Yes, please do, please.
Okay. So I had written down a few things so that I have a little bit of a structure. So I'm just gonna go there. If you don't mind, can I say a few things about D-Land? Is that all right?
Yeah, please, you feel free. Yeah.
All right. I think it's very important to say something about D-Land because it was very important to Guru Maharaj. It was his one of his last projects that he was working on. So
I think they're beginning. They have their remembrance program pretty much going on now as well in D-Land.
Wow.
So please.
So anyone who hasn't been there, I strongly suggest you go there. Because this place, like, I left Mayapur and I was very attached to Mayapur. I mean, Mayapur is, for me, the best place to be in. Surrounded by devotees that can always, it's like a shelter. It's being in the internal potency of Krishna. Being so sheltered by the devotees and seeing their practice, which is uplifting your own practice. So that was really wonderful. So when I had to go to D-Land, it was a really internal dilemma that I had to face. I wanted to go. And at the same time, I was also very scared. And I had heard from some devotees that it could be very isolating there. And, it's something you have to start from scratch. It's not that, you receive Mayapur and everything is ready. You just take advantage, basically, of all the wonderful arrangement Prabhupada has made. But I still decided to go. And I can tell you from experience, the time that I spent there has been extremely relevant and is still carrying me through what I'm going through and how we're dealing with the situation. And every day when I wake up, I'm so grateful for having been there with Guru Maharaj. So one time he asked me to speak about this project, and the way I see it is when you go there, when you serve there, it's almost like, when Vyasadeva was feeling like something was incomplete because he had not glorified Krishna, he had not glorified devotional service, and he had done so many things, written so many books. And I somehow feel that, although I was in the Dham, although I did this and this and this, but the cherry on the cake, something which really sealed it for me, was the service in the D-Land project. And that was because you just had to depend on your relationship with Guru Maharaj and Prabhupada. There was nothing else to hide behind, because you come in this beautiful, deserted kind of place where you have to build something from scratch, where there are no luxuries. It's basically, I still remember, I was a teacher, I was a lawyer at one time as well, at one point. And what I did is when I came there, I saw Guru Maharaj, and Guru Maharaj was there for a very long time. So I was very, very fortunate to be there with him. And we did so many things together. I saw Guru Maharaj, in a tiny room, very different from, his headquarters in Mayapur. He was just as happy, just the same person as he always was, totally, detached from his surroundings, even though it was cold. It was, smaller. It was not as, well organized, and he didn't care. He just cared about pushing forward this project. And it started very little. Like, I remember when I came, we had to get, Guru Maharaj had a desire. He wanted to distribute prasadam, and he wanted to do that, you know, he did that for the homeless people. He did that also for free, but he also wanted to establish a very divine catering service. And that catering service would go to all the different, you know, high-class companies and consultancies and offer the prasadam. So Guru Maharaj would personally cook, teach us how to make the lasagna in this particular way. And he would even, you know, do it in the middle of the night. And he was so involved in this project. And what he really wanted, he told me that, okay, if we want to do this, if we want to have a catering, the kitchen needs to pass the inspection. And I was thinking, okay, the kitchen needs to pass the inspection. And literally you walk into that kitchen and you just, it's a commercial kitchen, but you just will faint. And I have lived in India for a long time. So, you know, some things can look quite shocking, but this was out of this world. And every single pot, every single thing was like full with rust and dirt. And there were the toilets, they had like these opened cans in it and beans and little bones of chicken and God knows what. It was disastrous. And I was like, whoa. And I really had to think that, and that's also when I had this realization that service doesn't always mean the traditional kind of way of service. Service means whatever is needed for the spiritual master, whatever is needed, whatever he wants to invest energy into, that is what becomes the service. If you like it, if you don't like it, if it's according to your nature, not according to your nature, that all doesn't matter. You do what is important to him. So I made that my life mission, that kitchen had to be ready. We had about 3-4 days to do that. I just scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed, and it was late and midnight, and Guru Maharaj would come in midnight and come and see me. And you know, I had 2 other friends there, and I also took them with this in this pot cleaning journey. And Guru Maharaj would come and he said, I have found a solution. And I'm like, solution? What's Guru Maharaj talking about? And this was like really late, like 11:30 p.m. or something. He came into the kitchen. I found a solution. Come to my room. So we went and we sat down, and there was Guru Maharaj, you know, with his Apple laptop on YouTube, watching all these videos on how to effectively clean pots, you know, what to use and how to do it. And I was so impressed to see his involvement and how he was seeing this. He saw this as his service to Srila Prabhupada. This was what was needed to get to the next level. And even if he had to get his hands dirty, even if he had to go online on YouTube or whatever, it didn't matter for him. It was all about Srila Prabhupada. So we watched those videos, and I remember my friend saying, oh, Guru Maharaj, that looks really amazing. So we'll start that first thing tomorrow. And Guru Maharaj looked at me, and he just completely, the word tomorrow doesn't exist in Guru Maharaj's dictionary. Whenever he has an idea, it has to be now. He is like the opposite of a procrastinator. I don't even know if that is a word, but he's the opposite of that. So he looked at me straight into my eyes, and he knew that there's not going to be anything about tomorrow. This is going to be now. So I told her, no, it's going to be now. Guru Maharaj started laughing. And, you know, we went to the kitchen, and Guru Maharaj first tried it out himself. So he said he took some gloves, and he said, you know, you have to be careful. He was very protective. So he tried it himself with, I think it was the baking soda and the lemon, and, you know, it had to be a certain temperature and soaking and etc. And so, yeah, he showed that to us. That was one of the things. And you'll not believe it, but we passed that inspection with like flying colors, and they said they've never seen such a clean kitchen. Guru Maharaj was so happy. He used to call me, you know, like he gave me this new designation of like perfect pot cleaner, and I was like, wow. And I felt so happy to be the perfect pot cleaner. It was very special. And he had many of those moments, like, you know, he had a vision. He wanted, you know, to protect the cows, and he wanted, you know, to establish this beautiful farm community. And he would explore himself, you know, we would plant roses, we would plant seeds. And the cows also had a very special relationship with Guru Maharaj. because every time when Guru Maharaj would go to Mangal Arati, all the cows, not all the cows, 2 of the cows would offer obeisances to Guru Maharaj. When he comes, when he leaves, when he comes, when he leaves. It's just amazing. And Guru Maharaj would also personally name these cows. Actually, he would rescue them, save them from slaughterhouses. So that was really amazing. And then he kept them and took care of them. And I also remember one talk, which also gave me a very profound realization. And we were sitting in the room, all this, a handful of devotees, basically. And we sat there, and Guru Maharaj was talking about, rising to the mode of goodness. And he said, it's very important that devotees rise to the mode of goodness first. And I said, yes, Guru Maharaj. And he said, no, not you. And I'm like, why? And he said, no, you have to stay in the mode of passion because you are my working horse. Without you, nothing will get done here. We all started laughing. And then they would call me, working horse. So that was another nickname because I had a lot of energy and I was just getting obsessed with what I was doing, which was basically cleaning. And it turned out then Guru Maharaj was so happy because that was when he had his first retreat. He could actually invite, other God brothers over, and he was very, very pleased. And he had such his wonderful, amazing plans. And that's why, my biggest lamentation in so far is that I left. And that's why I want to urge, I left because I was getting married. And, 8 months later, this happened, and I feel I've just missed out. I've just really, really missed out. It's one of my biggest lamentations. At the same time, I think Guru Maharaj, when I left, he said something to me which really struck me, and he gave a class, and then he said, today marks a very sad day. Today, Kirti Kumari is leaving us, and actually, the daughter never belongs to the father. That's why the daughter takes the gotra of the husband and not the gotra of the father. And he said, so today marks a very sad day. I really need her here, but I also want her to be protected. And he said, soon I might not be here. And then who is going to protect you? So he said, I want you to get married because Prabhupada wanted everyone to get married. And he says, in Krishna consciousness, we will always be together. So maybe he basically wanted to say that, in the regular world, the mundane world, the daughter leaves the house and that's it, lives with the husband. But he said in Krishna consciousness, it's not like that. We are always eternally linked to each other, which was really beautiful. But because he said that who will protect you? What is going to happen to you? I feel that somewhere, he knew he was, moving towards something else. I had that feeling. And sometimes I saw him just staring out of the window and just a different kind of vibe. He really wanted this project to work. He really wanted to put all his energy in there. And he even brought Bhakti Charu Maharaj there, which really says a lot because wherever he brings Bhakti Charu Maharaj, it means, he's really serious about it. He wants to get something done. He brings his most beloved devotee there to help us and inspire us. And therefore, I urge you, I really, from depth of my heart, anyone who has an opportunity to go there and render some service there, it will be the best experience in your life. And it will just add that extra dimension to your relationship with Guru Maharaj, because that is one of the things that he wanted to manifest. And there are a wonderful set of devotees that are taking care of the D-Land project. So please, if you can, that's something I felt I have to say. Yeah.
You're right. I mean, as we all know, Guru Maharaj left Ujjain to travel to D-Land. So that sort of signifies how the importance he placed on D-Land, actually.
Yeah.
And all glories to your service at D-Land.
Oh. No. I'm just looking for the poetry. So Yeah, there's one more thing actually, which Guru Maharaj told me. Like sometimes, we associate Guru Maharaj's disappearance and we say, Guru Maharaj left on Sanatana Goswami's disappearance. Guru Maharaj left on Guru Purnima. And Guru Maharaj once told me, he actually wrote me a letter and he said, I have a quote here and I thought it might be good to know in terms of future, like how we talk about Guru Maharaj's disappearance or how we connect it. I thought this might be relevant. So he said, quote, regarding Guru Purnima, we do not attach much importance to it. During Srila Prabhupada's time, we never celebrated it. Srila Prabhupada even said that worshipping the spiritual master on Guru Purnima is a Mayavadi practice. As Vaishnavas, our way of worshipping the spiritual master in a special way is on the day of his appearance and disappearance, which is known as Vyasa Puja and Tirobha. So this is one of, it's an excerpt of a letter, because I used to write, like I said, I had a lot of interaction in correspondence. So I used to write every year a Guru Purnima offering as well. He never said anything. The last one, he told me this. And therefore, I think that, we as disciples, we might not, always have to mention it in relation to that. Maybe we just say in relation to Sanatana Goswami's disappearance rather than the Guru Purnima, because he felt, it's not something that Prabhupada really promoted. So I thought it could be very relevant for us to know. At least on me, it made a real impact. I never wrote him any offerings on that day again. So how
do we reconcile that then? His that statement that, well, we don't worship or offer homage on Guru Purnima, and he was suggests it's a Mayavadi philosophy practice, and yet we've
exactly. That's I can't use you see, I don't have the authority to say anything like that. So I just want to read his quote, and whatever anyone feels about that or wants to do with that, that is up to anyone. I just felt, because he wrote it to me, I'm sure it was not meant for me. I just thought of sharing it. So I had a lot of other things which I'm totally going to skip. So I'm going to read out my latest offering to Guru Maharaj and then some realizations. I'll try to do that very, very quick because I can see it's really late. Prabhu, if you want to, if we can also just end the class. I don't want to hold up anyone from important matters, Prabhu.
No,
so
I think, as I mentioned at the outset before, time is flexible, right?
Okay. Okay, so this is a this is an offering I wrote to Guru Maharaj on his for his disappearance date. Yeah. Sitting down, listening to the shallow beat of my empty heart, a familiar sound pierces through the layers of ether and enters my ear. I remember you told me that the ear is different from the other senses, as it allows us to perceive the transcendental reality through the vibration of sound. The room fills with what I now realize is the sound of a bell, and I reckon it sounds quite different from the bell used during the arti, as it is a more distinct and subtle sound. I vaguely remember the sound, but I cannot place it in context until I hear a melodious voice choked up with devotion offering pranams to Srila Guru Maharaj. I shiver and instantly realize that it is you, Guru Maharaj, worshipping the only deity you have ever had, Srila Prabhupada. So Guru Maharaj would every morning worship Srila Prabhupada, especially in Mayapur. I saw him. I think he did it everywhere. That's what his secretaries told me. But every morning, and in Mayapur, it was quite elaborate. He would have all these beautiful rose petals, and he would sing and ring the bell, and that was his, that was his puja. That was his deity. Prabhupada was his deity. So memories flash by as I now can see you standing strong, the regal and illustrious personality you are, absorbed in your daily puja to his divine grace, fragrant rose petals twirling in the air to the rhythm of the bell. Although the sound of the bell echoes your attitude and expression of love, for me the sound wakes me up to the realization that this life, just this one life, as you would say, is meant to be an offering to Srila Prabhupada. And Guru Maharaj, rest assured, you did not only exemplify that, in truth, you became the Acharya for Prabhupada consciousness. Memories push themselves to the foreground of my mind, and there you are, at the table, folded hands, offering pranams to Prabhupada before you honor your meal. Actually, Guru Maharaj would do this always, and sometimes he would not even sing the prasadam prayers, he would just, say Prabhupada pranam. And so everything, even when we would eat ice cream, anything random, he would still sit, fold his hands and say Prabhupada pranam. So there you sit on the asana, offering prayers to Prabhupada before and after you speak. And while you sit there, it is his glories only which you are trying to broadcast. There you are, garlanding Prabhupada before accepting one yourself. There you are in the GBC conference room, promoting and protecting Prabhupada's legacy. There you are on your own Vyasa Puja, celebrating Prabhupada Memorial Festival. And there you are in the sanctity of your own mind, contemplating deeply on how to serve ISKCON. Every thought, every action was an expression of your love. And it is this love which carried you through from the spiritual world to the material world and back home. Srimad Bhagavatam therefore explains in 7.1545 that the sword of weapon of jnana or knowledge is not enough to conquer our material consciousness. The weapon has to be sharpened by serving the spiritual master, because by this service and love, one invokes Krishna's mercy. Krishna's mercy is then showered in the form of spiritual strength, personified by Balaram, because without strength, the strongest weapon becomes useless. During a seminar, I remember devotees questioning why the Pandavas didn't stop the actions of Dushasana and Duryodhana. I remember passing you a note. Guru Maharaj, if they would have done something to protect Draupadi Devi, then how would Krishna be known to the world as Bhaktavatsala? And how would Draupadi be known as completely surrendered to Krishna? I remember how scared I was for your response, but you surprisingly looked up and smiled and elaborated extensively on that aspect the rest of the class. You once told me, Krishna consciousness is a matter of perspective. Today, Guru Maharaj, I want to offer you a perspective, and this time without fear, as I'm convinced you will look up and smile. In our Bhagavatam pages, we find many incidents where we wonder why. Why did the Yadus end themselves? Why Krishna left the way he did? I remember you chastising someone severely who mentioned that His Holiness Dhamma Maharaj died an inglorious death. Your eyes turned dark red in rage as you shouted, a Vaishnava's departure is always glorious, and for a soul like Krishna Goswami, Krishna, Prabhupada, and the whole parampara would have lined up to take him back. In a class you gave on the art of dying, you discussed that not everyone will have the chance to leave their body in the presence of devotees. One might be at a hospital, as you were, where no one was allowed because of the contagious nature of the disease, and there won't be anyone to remind one of Krishna. In a case like that, what do? You said that at that time the devotee himself has to depend on Krishna and pray that one must not forget him. You spoke of this as an opportunity rather than an unfortunate event. At that time, all assets, means, resources are wiped out instantly. And in that situation, one becomes like Draupadi, left with nothing but fate and surrender. One might say this is sad, or one might say this is Krishna's special mercy. Going into that hospital, you knew very well you would be without devotees, but that didn't scare you at all. And out of everything you could bring, you insisted that Srila Prabhupada lectures would be played 24/7, because of your firm conviction, and this sound vibration is the window to the spiritual world. But moreover, for the simple reason that you loved him and wanted him close. When Prabhupada left for America, he didn't have any assets except his heart filled with Guru Bhakti. Similarly, you left for the hospital taking with you only your Prabhupada consciousness. A consciousness which simply had no room for anything else but him. When I hear some people say that there is no one to chant for you when you left this world, I cannot help but to question what for. When a pure devotee leaves the world, the only thing on our mind should be, how can we grab his lotus feet and beg him to take us with him? Because a pure devotee like you doesn't need to be reminded. He doesn't need anyone to chant for him to reach a spiritual destination. A pure, chaste, and loyal servant and soldier of Prabhupada, conscious or unconscious, is always in remembrance of Krishna. Because Krishna cannot forget him, not even for a fraction of a moment. And is it not Krishna's remembrance of us what we truly need at the time of death? Can something so material as being awake or not awake determine one's destination? Is that really our limited understanding of Krishna's merciful nature and the potency of his pure devotees? Both remembrance and forgetfulness find their source in Krishna. And even if both are nullified, the principle of Krishna Akarshani never fails. A few years ago, you told me that out of all the prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam, I should try to memorize Kunti Devi's prayers. You said that they were so important that Srila Prabhupada felt the need to dedicate a book just to her prayers. Looking back, I can see that these prayers, in which challenging situations are welcomed, ultimately lead to a deep absorption in Krishna, where the connection with him overrules whatever you might be going through. The challenges that devotees undergo are on top of that glorified, as they illustrate the exalted nature of the relationship between Krishna and his devotees. Hence, I simply glorify your departure, Guru Maharaj. I glorify the Vaikuntha plane, which came in the form of COVID. I glorify you willingly entering the battlefield to fulfill your preaching mission. But most glorious of all is that you left, showing us that till the end you were faithful to ISKCON, obedient to the GBC, and always in favor of unity and cooperation, even if that meant sacrificing something of yourself. For you, ISKCON was not just an institution. It was part of a carefully crafted divine arrangement to flood the world with Krishna consciousness. And we had been given the privilege to be part of that plan. For you, the GBC was not just a group of people. It was a manifestation of Srila Prabhupada's ardent desire and plan to lead us to systematic distribution of love. So no, you did not leave because of an unfortunate accident. You left because Prabhupada called you. And honestly, Guru Maharaj, you have done enough. You have done way more than anyone could ever imagine, because you were endowed with strength and potency and adorned with love and compassion. If anyone questions how you disappeared from our mundane vision, it is merely a lack of perspective. The way you left was just as transcendental as the arrow piercing Krishna's lotus feet and the hundreds of arrows piercing Bhishma's body. I am absolutely confident that when you left our mundane vision, all the stars and planets must have adjusted themselves in such a way that everything became extremely auspicious, and demigods must have showered flowers from heaven. I am confident that you were, as in the words of the Bhagavatam, merged in your own transcendental bliss, falling at the feet of your Prabhupada while resuming your spiritual identity in the eternal spiritual sky. As you said, Krishna consciousness is a matter of perspective. So in this way, Guru Maharaj always said that there are two aspects to the Leelas of devotees and of Krishna. He said there's, the pleasure-giving aspect, and then there is the educational aspect. So we can actually learn so much from Guru Maharaj's departure, his fearlessness, his surrender, his attachment to Srila Prabhupada till the end. So the question is not really about how we see Guru Maharaj as passing. It's more about how Guru Maharaj would want us to see it. He would want us to see it in a way which actually enhances our faith in Prabhupada and Krishna. And the difference, because he always said that the difference between material and spiritual consciousness is who you put in the center of your thinking. And right now, putting Guru Maharaj in the center, his relationship with Srila Prabhupada, that is what he would have wanted. That is what I strongly feel, and that is what I strongly believe. That these were just, every pastime needs to end. Everything has to end. At one point, devotees have to return back to the spiritual world. And Krishna makes this beautiful arrangement, to do that in a way that we have to try to understand how we can see that in a Krishna conscious way, and how we can see Krishna's merciful hand, and how we can see that as a plan, as a divine plan. And I think Guru Maharaj really has to be glorified for the way he left, because he was alone, because he was in the hospital, because it was a disease, because of all of this. So many acharyas of us actually have left because of disease. So does that mean, that it's inglorious? We actually never even really talk about these things. Guru Maharaj would never talk about, the way devotees, the pure devotees, if they had a disease, how they would pass. He would just glorify it. He would just glorify the way that they lived and the way that they left. He would see it all as the same. So Guru Maharaj himself said that in an offering, I remember him saying, that we have to look for him. And then he makes this analogy about the small child, the mother hiding from the small child behind the curtain, which is very beautiful. And he wants us to find him. And I feel that whatever, the Ujjain devotees and Prabhu, whatever you're arranging right here, all these remembrance and this connection is where we can find Guru Maharaj. We find him here, right here. This is where he is. I know he is here. I know he is hearing all of this and being with all of us. And he is there whenever we're trying to sincerely push forward this mission, whenever we're sincerely trying to make progress on this path of Krishna consciousness. And I also feel personally that, now that the Vapu aspect has been, has disappeared from my mundane vision, from my level of experience, I am forced to focus on what truly matters. And I think, that is what it's really about. I think actually the relationship starts here. It is not about my memories. It is not, about the great, wonderful things that Guru Maharaj ever told me, or the chastisements or whatsoever. No, it is about here and now. And it is about what we are going to do now. This is the time, and you can see that even in Guru Maharaj's example. How much has he done after Srila Prabhupada left? Look at that part. And the same, with Srila Prabhupada, how much had he done after, at such an age? He made his life completely about fulfilling the desires of our Guru Maharaj, and our life starts now because we are not distracted anymore with, hey, Guru Maharaj is coming, what are we going to cook for him, where are we going to take Guru Maharaj, and all of that is wonderful and it's important. But now is the time to focus on, his desires of spreading Krishna consciousness and becoming sincere ourselves. So in that sense, I think it's really important that we as his disciples carry forward his mood. I even feel there should be a Bhakti Charu Maharaj's dictionary, because the words that he used, I think it's really important for us, to follow in his footsteps. He had such a divine way of speaking. It was so elegant and profound, and not just in English. Like, English is my second language. It's Guru Maharaj's second language. The words he used, the English literature that he would refer to, all of that. We should have this wonderful book with Bhakti Charu Swami words, and all his disciples should try, to use them, to keep that whole spirit alive. And so that's actually how I feel. I just shared my heart with you. And I remember Guru Maharaj telling me one last thing. He said, at the time of that, oh, sorry, there's just one more thing which came to mind. He said, at the time of death, you will remember only the person you're most attached to. He said, everything, will just fade away. And some people have devotees that remind them of Krishna at the time of that, and some people don't. And there is this one example. When I was in Mayapur, I was just walking down the road near Bhaktivedanta Hospital, and I came across two very good friends of mine. They're just like parents to me, and they had their father with them. Father is from South Africa, was quite aged, and I looked at him, and he had to go to the hospital. He was just looking normal, like a little bit weak, but somehow I felt that. I told them, and it was very scary, but I told them, I think this person is, about to leave. And they were like, oh, he's our father, and I said, I don't know. It's because I love you. I'm telling you, I have this feeling he's about to leave. And they said, oh, okay. They stayed with him. He got hospitalized, and then they had to bring his clothes over because he was going to stay over at the hospital. And I had never met this person in my life. And they asked me, now that his situation is stabilized, why don't you stay with him? We will pick up the clothes and we'll come back. So I was like, oh, okay, if you really want me to do that, then I'll do that. I held the person's hand. I wanted him to feel that there was someone there. Although he was stable, he was totally fine. All the nurses had left and everything, they were just went on with their jobs. And he asked me who my Guru Maharaj was. So I said, it's Bhakti Charu Maharaj. And this particular devotee had taken re-initiation from Narayan Maharaj. And he was telling that Bhakti Charu Maharaj is the only person who still treated him the same, who still gave him that love, who still gave him that comfort. And he said he loved him, and he felt so blessed to have a disciple of his, with him. And a few moments later, that person actually left his body right in front of me, holding my hands. And on my phone, I had a bhajan of Guru Maharaj. I could see, like, he grabbed my hand. There was a little bit of force of strength, and I had my phone. I played the bhajan. He listened to it. He looked at me. He had tears in his eyes, and he left. He just left. And I had this massive realization that Guru Maharaj is just so all merciful. He just came to save everyone. That's what he came. He came to connect people to Prabhupada, and he came to save. So because that person didn't have that direct connection with Prabhupada, by leaving, the person had a connection with Prabhupada's godbrother, which is totally fine and all transcendental. But even despite that, through Guru Maharaj, he still had that connection with Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada still was with him. For me, it meant a lot, and it really showed me, the potency of, the guru-disciple relationship, and the potency and mercy of Vaishnavas. So that's something which just came to mind, which I also just wanted to mention. How amazing that was.
Oh, wow, thank you. It's wonderful. I mean, so much nectar, so many, inspiring instructions and memories. I'm sort of just taken aback, lost for words. But thank you very much, Kirti. I hope that, it seems like you have quite a few poems, and did you ever think about maybe compiling them into, in one place, a book or booklet of some sort?
It's very funny. I was thinking about it a couple of days ago, that when I was going through letters, I was thinking I can't even oversee, what comes first and what comes next. And I would love to do that. I would also really love to compile something with memories of a lot of devotees. So kind of like a more comprehensive book Like, I think it's one of my biggest aspirations to make something like that. So you really touched my heart right now. That's exactly what's in my heart. I just don't know, like, I have 3 children and it's all, you know, very, I'm actually at the moment studying as well. But this has inspired me, you know, especially the last couple of months, contemplating on the way that Guru Maharaj left and realizations that came because of that, and how to actually move forward. And I keep hearing that sentence. I keep hearing, if you love me, glorify me. If you love me, glorify me. You know, like, if you're attached, that will help you with your attachment. So yes, I would love to do that. And anyone who's willing to offer help, or, you know, it's always good to start together. Like, we could all together compile something. If there are some serious devotees who would want to go and, you know, jump on this journey with me, I would really welcome you, because I'm very inspired to do this. I really want to do this. I've already made a file with all the letters and a file with, you know, the poetry we shared. So yeah, I would love to do that. So maybe, Prabhu, with your blessings, maybe that could one day manifest.
Oh, sure. I mean, you know, Guru Maharaj's blessings. We'd love to, you know, in any way we can help. I mean, it's something, I mean, I've often thought about, because I was very fortunate that I spent a good year traveling with Guru Maharaj. And I had a lot of association, you know, relatively speaking, and I wanted to, and I still, you know, it's a desire, but just hasn't manifested. And I wanted more to speak about a lot of devotees, disciples who are left, and glorify them. And in glorifying them, my intention was to glorify Guru Maharaj.
Prabhu, I think it's time for you to do that. I'm sure it would benefit us all. It would be so wonderful.
Failed to even jot a one word down. So yeah, maybe one day. Thank you.
I'm sure, you know. Yeah, please.
So yeah, we would love to hear from you again, you know, because there's never enough time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Now midnight where you are.
Yeah.
So I have a devotee here. You might have, oh, actually, okay. I can send you the person's number directly to you. And I think maybe sounds like maybe able to help. So I'll just do that. Okay. Thank you. I don't really want to end, but I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And I mean, these remembrance sessions are only, you know, I'm a mere host. I'm actually a caretaker. It's not really my service directly. I'm just helping Manjari Mataji, and who asked me to sort of help. So in some small capacity, which is not executed very well anyway, I'm trying to sort of assist her. So please forgive my shortcomings. She's much more personable and much more, you know, just more enjoyable company than I am, for sure. So hopefully, you know, she'll get to a stage where she can, you know, take over, resume her service, I would say. And it's, you know, and it's credit to all the devotees who participate in these sessions that, yeah, we get the most benefit out of. So thank you, everybody. And we look forward to having your association again next week. We'll just chant one round of Mahamantra Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.